Konichiwa Weebs, welcome back to Culture Lot, and don't worry, today isn't another poorly scripted versus battle. Today we'll actually be deviating a little bit from animes and talking about other parts of the culture. As our name implies, we are Culture Lot, and culture is not just about animes and mangas. There are also things like light novels, manhwas, and manhwas. And today we'll be talking about manhwas, specifically our top 5 manhwa recommendations you should read. Okay, we're not even going to dilly-dally, we'll just get right in. The first one, or number 5 on the list, will be Tower of God. As I'm sure many of you have already watched the anime, and I think its season 2 was just announced previously. So as the hype is going on, the Tower of God was adapted from a manhwa, not a manga like other normal animes. I'm not sure if you knew that, but it's a piece of fun fact for you. And the manhwa has gone into way greater depth. I think they're even done with the manhwa as we are currently. So if you can't wait for the anime, consider reading the manhwa. It's quite nice, I'll have to tell you that. You should definitely think of giving it a watch. Just moving on to our number 2, which is also another manhwa that has been adapted into an anime. It is the God of High School. Another anime I think you've probably watched because it was one of the most hyped animes last year. I also loved watching that anime, and that was what pushed me into reading the manhwa. And after I read the manhwa, I realized that the manhwa was way better than even the anime. Like, it could not even be comparable because there were a lot of things that the anime missed out, but the manhwa took perfect care of, if you think of it that way. And the manhwa has gone way far, introducing more intense battles, more interesting battles, and like, for me, it's way better than the anime, and you should consider giving it a read. Like, my best fight currently was the Ragnarok when all gods descended. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but I just had to say that. Now, moving on to like our next manhwa on this list, which is the Tomb Raider King. Tomb Raider King is set in a normal place, normal Earth, at year 2025. I'm basically just giving you the basic storyline now. At year 2025, we had a change in the world. Basically, tombs started appearing, tombs from dungeons. Now, this tomb from dungeons will contain relics from ancient myths, cultures, and religions, and they will give whoever owns it superhuman powers. As expected, everyone started raiding these tombs to attain it, and those who had a head start will attain more relics, control the world, gain more power. This was how it was. And our main character was like a lowly servant of one of these people that control the world with the relics. And eventually he was set up and he died in a tomb trying to find the relics, because the tombs are also fitted with traps. Now, before his death, he met the relic of that tomb, which was a crow. That crow has the ability to turn back time. So it turned back time to before the disaster happened, giving our main character the memories of all the tombs, all the relics, their appearances. Now, with this knowledge, our MC begins to dominate everything, basically taking out all the good relics. Also begins to rule the world as one of the kings or people who have like the most and most powerful relics. Moving on now to like our next manhwa on the list, which is The Beginning After the End. The Beginning After the End is probably what most people consider as one of the best manhwas out there. For me, it's also on that list. It's one of my best manhwas, definitely. The Beginning After the End, it was set in the future, though I didn't really know what timeline, but there was a king, King Grey. He ruled armies. He was one of the best fighters of that time, and he was assassinated. He died. He basically don't know how he died, but he died, and he was reincarnated back into the past in a world with magic and ancient medieval times with magic. And in this world now, he was named Arthur. So from now on, using his strength and prowess as a king with his superior intellect in a world with magic and his ability to dedicate time to train improved magic potential, he begins to scale through this world. Currently, the manhwa hasn't gotten that far. I think we are just about 80 to 90 chapters in, and this has pushed a lot of the fans to read the light novel. I'm also considering doing that, and if I do that, I'll let you know how the light novel is. But for now, I'm just waiting on the manga, and if I tell you more about the story, it becomes a spoiler, being in the fact that the manhwa itself has not been adapted to an anime, and there isn't that much chapters on it. Now, moving on to the last one on our list, we'll talk about that one, which is Solo Leveling. Now, this is the manhwa that caught me into manhwas. I kind of remember the day I decided to pick this up. So it was around 9 a.m. that day, and I picked up this manhwa and I started reading it, and I couldn't stop. I literally burned out my data. I had to go and stop again, get more data, continue reading, and I read this manhwa from 9 till 1 non-stop till I finished about the 100 plus chapters that were released at that time. Now just to tell you how good it is, since it has also not been adapted for an anime, though there are news of it getting an adaptation soon. I don't think we'll see that anytime soon because there aren't much chapters, and anime adaptation of manhwas tend to release like multiple chapters in one episode, and I don't think what we have there now will be good enough for 100 plus 12 plus episodes, sorry. But it's definitely in the works, and I'll be very excited to see that. This manhwa, now let me give you the basic story, is stated in normal world also, kind of like Tomb Raider King, but in this case they don't have tombs with relics, they have dungeons, and in these dungeons lie monsters, and there's always a boss. Once the boss is defeated, the dungeon will close. If the dungeon is not defeated for 3 days, the monsters will enter the human world and cause havoc, so definitely they have to be defeated. And in this era now, they came dungeon hunters, or what they call hunters, and they are graded S rank to E rank. They go into the dungeons and defeat monsters. The dungeons are also graded S rank to E rank. Now in this particular fashion, our main character now is an E rank hunter at the beginning. He goes into this double dungeon, which was basically a trap, and almost all of his companions died, and he was left in the dungeon. Eventually he will wake up outside the dungeon with an ability to see an interface. Basically it gives him the ability to grow, to gain, become stronger, and with this he is the only hunter that can continually upgrade his skills. So he rises from an E rank hunter to an S rank hunter to a hunter beyond even S rank. Just reading this is just good, and as you are seeing from the images, this guy he's dope beyond belief. So I think this will wrap up basically our top 5 manhwas you should be reading now. Like there are a lot more I wanted to add, so I'll just give you a little honorable mentions. The first one is My Wife is a Demon King. Gear is another nice honorable mention, and the last one I'll just put here is The Descent of the Demonic King. Definitely check this all out. Sayonara until next time.